Welcome to episode 36 of Central Intelligence Cinema. Today, we have our second listener-requested review, this time of the 1997 Canadian-produced spy film, The Assignment. A huge thank you to our agent in the field, Mark Miller, for his request. We hope you enjoy our good-natured ribbing of the film. Also, just wanted to pass along a happiest of New Year's to all our tens of listeners. We look forward to bringing you much more silly spy shit in 2023. But for now, take it away, Pierce.
Beg your pardon, forgot to knock.
Welcome to the CIC, initiating security clearance.
My name is Napoleon Solo. Bond. James Bond. Ethan Hunt. Felix Leiter.
Ilya Kuryakyn.
Identity confirmed.
Now, pay attention, 007.
Welcome to Central Intelligence Cinema, a podcast dedicated to spy movies and secret agent pop culture.
Your mission, should you decide to accept it.
Remember, nothing ever goes according to plan.
Tom, what do you think you're doing?
Using the British handgun, sir. Do you expect me to talk?
Yeah, baby!
Coming to you from an undisclosed cemetery somewhere in the Great White North, eh? Learn the names! It's a Central Intelligence Cinema podcast. I'm Jason Greenberg, and with me, as always, Ben Esslinger.
Thank you, Jason. Thank you, Jason. And welcome back to the CIC, the podcast that is giving you a great big boiling hot trough of porridge that is our review of The Assignment.
We want you to know how much he suffered by eating that porridge, and I will never stop suffering from watching this movie.
Oh, goodness.
PTSD, porridge traumatic stress syndrome, or just a disorder.
Let me tell you something. Here at the CIC, we love our tens of listeners. We really do.
We do.
And I think it shows by taking on this movie. It is something else, man. This is quite the movie.
Something else.
Is it a movie? I don't even know if it's a movie. I mean, technically, it's a movie.
It's four different movies crammed together.
There's film, there's dialogue, there's a story, sort of, and okay. Well, anyway,
what's the movie, Ben?
Well, it's The Assignment, Jason. It's starring. I don't even know who's in this right now because I'm so flustered by the whole thing that I don't even know.
Donald Sutherland, maybe.
Yeah, that Donald Sutherland fella, and then Aidan Quinn.
And there's another fella.
That Aidan Quinn, that Irish Catholic guy who's playing a Cuban.
Yeah, that guy. And then there's one other fella in it.
Oh yeah, that Kingsley guy, the guy that was in Iron Man.
Yeah, Iron Man. That was his big breakout role.
Yeah, not Gandhi.
I feel like that guy's going to win an Academy Award someday.
Someday. After this, it was all up. It was all to the stars.
Well, technically, anybody who was involved in this movie was only going up from this movie.
Indeed. Anything from this movie is pretty much a step up. But shall we get into this sucker?
Oh, please, so that way we can get over with it.
Terrorism is regrettably a growth industry.
For 20 years, Carlos the Jackal led a reign of terror so brutal, his capture was an international obsession. Now,
Lieutenant Commander Ramirez. Holy cow. The resemblance is astonishing.
One American officer is about to take on the ultimate challenge.
You are the only one who can get the Jackal. The French made it perfect for us. The KGB now think you're Carlos. They took the bait.
Aidan Quinn, Donald Sutherland, Ben Kingsley.
Okay, The Assignment, released in 1997, directed by Christian Duguay, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, who also did Screamers and The Art of War, which starred Wesley Snipes, and the miniseries Human Trafficking. That's about all I have on him. He apparently did a lot of action-y stuff too. I don't know if it's for TV or what. Doesn't have a big his portfolio is not large and esteemed, which I think it shows. But So yeah, that's about all I have on this interesting movie. It was written by Dan Gordon, who did write some things.
No doubt.
He wrote Wyatt Earp. He wrote The Hurricane, and he wrote Rambo: Last Blood. Which, but anyway, as well as writing credit to Sabi H. Shabtai, who has no other credits, but I'm not really. There was nothing on that person, so I have no idea. So, yeah, interesting that they did have a writer on this who clearly knows how to write things.
Right.
Now, I will say, looking back on the movie, I think what kills this movie so hard is the production itself. Not so much that I think that this story done correctly might have actually had some wings to it.
Agreed.
And there's even, I even noticed that there's a lot of payoffs going on in this movie where they set things up to pay them off, and they do pay them off. It's just not very well executed. But yeah.
We'll never know for sure.
The director of photography was also Christian Duguay, as well as David Franco, who was a second unit director of photography on Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith, that little movie. So, wow.
So why weren't the computer effects any better then?
Well, I think that might be down to budget. I'm not sure. He also went on to be the director of photography for Stranger Things, Ray Donovan, and Game of Thrones. So,
right. I didn't have any problem with the way the movie was shot. I had a problem with the way the movie was directed and edited.
Yes, that definitely for sure. And I think I didn't take notes on set direction, but that was definitely an issue as well. But again, I wonder what the budget was for this. There were no numbers available. It made a toppling $332,597. Wowzers.
Which I'm guessing from the general quality means it came in just under making a profit.
Yeah. Oof. Yeah. But it sounds like they did have some issues with American distribution. I think you had something on that.
Yeah. So it sounds like it was made in Canada, and they were going to get made in Canada to be a movie to release in the US. Mm-hmm. And the US distributor was like, we're just going to give it a limited release. And so the Canadian distributor's like, well, if they're not going to put it in full release, we're not going to put it in full release, And next thing you know, nobody's watching this movie because its two biggest markets refused to put it in a large distribution, which I'll be honest with you, with everything else that was going on in 1997 when it came out, this movie probably would have done all right.
Yeah, it's quite possible.
When you throw in a Sutherland and a Kingsley.
Indeed. Because those were still names to be reckoned with back then.
Absolutely. Particularly Ben Kingsley, who, I think Sutherland kind of went through a decline in the late 90s and kind of had this resurgent in the later 2000s.
Right.
But Kingsley's kind of been a boom, 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 boom across the board.
Yeah. I mean, he was Sutherland was kind of in his Nick Cage paying off some debts phase, I think, during that era. But no, exactly. Ben Kingsley was nothing to make fun of or anything, so. And, I think too, when did, I'm trying to remember when Benny and June came out, because that was sort of the big one for Aidan Quinn too.
Right. Well, and Legends of the Fall that he was in.
I don't know. He had a moment too. He went through
He did
a quick moment, and he was still very young and fit in this one. So, and I will say now, I'm jumping ahead just a little bit, for an Irish fella playing a Cuban, he actually was sort of convincing as far as when he spoke
as
Spanish.
Far as he could be. Sure.
As far as he could be. I mean,
he was in a role where he was a dude disguised as another dude playing another dude.
Indeed, he really was.
That's a hard one to pull off.
Yeah, and I there are definitely some moments where I'm just like, oh God. I actually felt like he was much better when he was just playing the actual Carlos.
Yes, he seemed so much more committed to the bit, to being the bad guy, the actual bad guy. Even when he was playing the good guy, playing the bad guy.
Yeah, he came off more confident. He came off more. He allowed himself to just be more confident, more just sort of not giving a shit.
Projected more menace.
Yeah, for sure. Real quick, Normand Corbell, who worked frequently with Christian Duguay and also lots of TV stuff. He did the music. Again, I think it shows. It's not exactly amazing. But again, clearly they must not have had a lot to work with. They probably spent all their money on getting Donald Sutherland and Ben Kingsley.
And probably Aidan Quinn at that point.
Yeah. So, I mean, they probably had maybe 50 grand left to work with. Because, I mean, holy cow, the CGI, if you can even call it that.
I think I said to you while I was watching this on my second go around, I've seen better fire effects on an inflatable dragon at Halloween time.
I kept thinking of some of the CGI that didn't transfer over well on Star Trek: The Next Generation when they up-resed it.
Yes.
When you suddenly were like, "Oh God."
I think about the special effects of any Sci-Fi Channel movie that was made from 92 up till last year. I mean, it's TV level special effects with TV level music with TV level
resolution too, except for the fact that it was shot on film, allegedly. Honestly, there are moments of this movie that I do find entertaining. Actually, I'll say this: the movie's entertaining in a way that it wasn't intended to be.
I don't even know if I can go that far.
All right. Well,
my problem is what? I like art house films. I like adventure spy thrillers. I like action movies. I like softcore porn. I just don't like all four of them crammed into one spy type movie that can't figure out what the hell it wants to be.
Exactly. It really is. And every scene feels like a vignette that's just been stitched together next to the next vignette. It's not a whole movie.
With a couple of really excellent stunt scenes put in the middle of it.
Yeah, actually, the moments when Annabelle is trying to evade the French... the
DST,
the DST. Those moments are actually pretty good in there.
I agree.
I think that probably is, where it sort of plays to Duguay's strengths as opposed to the rest of it. So, but getting into the main characters, we've talked about the main ones, but just going down the list here, we do have Aidan Quinn as Commander Anibal Ramirez and also Carlos the Jackal. Spoiler alert.
Yeah, because spoiler alert, they look the same.
Right. And that brings up a point actually about the fact that this is loosely, and when I say loosely, really loosely based on a real person who was a real terrorist named Carlos the Jackal, who has been referenced in a ton of different movies.
Oh, yeah.
He was referenced loosely, I should say, in the movie Gotcha, actually, the spy movie Gotcha, when the character Manolo, the best friend of
Anthony Edwards.
Anthony Edwards, yeah. Where he would say that he was trying to pick up women by saying that he was Carlos and that he was trying to avoid capture and yada, yada, yada. We also get a reference to the Jackal. Actually, Carlos the Jackal is basically the main villain in the 1988 version of The Bourne Identity. We also get a reference to it in True Lies, where Bill Paxton is playing that car dealer named Simon, who's trying to seduce the wife of a U.S. counterterrorism operative, a.k.a. Arnold. And that said operative seeks revenge by accusing Simon of being Carlos the Jackal, which is hilarious. Also, if you want more about that movie, go check out our episode where we reviewed True Lies, available where all fine podcasts are listened to.
That was smooth.
Thank you. And then also, even the 2005 Munich makes a reference to Carlos the Jackal as well. So it's fodder that has been well treaded.
Definitely.
The other characters in this, we have Maura Ramirez, played by Claudia Ferry, the wife, who does a fine job for what she's given. A lot of the tertiary characters aren't given too much. I would say of all of them, Claudia Ferry probably did the best.
She had that really kind of nice moment when they're at the party.
Yes, absolutely.
And the Admiral makes an ass out of himself.
Yes.
And she very adroitly puts him in his place without getting her Navy officer husband in trouble.
Yeah.
That was kind of a fine little bit of acting there from her.
She kind of stole the show in that scene, actually.
She really did. Because then Aidan Quinn goes on to completely overact with
God,
Donald Sutherland, who was really putting it on there. So
boy.
She was a study in subtlety compared to the other people in that particular scene.
And how? Then we had the character Carla, played by Celine Bonnier, who, I mean, she did what she was asked to do.
Skinamax at night.
And of similar ilk, we had Agnieszka, played by Liliana Komorowska.
Say that 3 times fast.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not going to try that again. And then finally, of course, Jack Shaw / Henry Fields, played by Donald Sutherland, who, man, he vacillates between being the Donald Sutherland that knows how to act, and then I don't know if it's direction or what, where there are moments where they just, between him and Aidan, they just put on a clinic in overacting.
Yeah, and because I know the work of both of them, I feel like that's what they were being told to do.
Yeah,
and they just did it.
Yeah. And then Ben Kingsley does his job. Honestly, he's a good actor. He knows what to do.
Yep.
He showed up. He did the thing, plays the character Amos. He plays the good cop to Donald Sutherland's bad cop.
Right.
Basically.
And he does it very well. I mean, he's the most believable person or character in all of them. You believe that.
And he's playing outside of his actual heritage.
Right. So, like you said earlier, there was so much potential here. It wasn't the cast. It probably wasn't even the writing in the movie. It's the directorial and editorial choices that were made to get us what we got to.
Yeah. And you think, too, there are plenty of indie spy films that don't overreach with CGI in order to make things look believable.
Right.
And that is kind of exactly what this did. I mean, I think about that stupid CGI grenade falling to the floor. And I could literally do that in After Effects, like right now. I could go into Adobe After Effects. And I mean, granted, we're now in 2022 and this was 1997, but still, they didn't need to do some of the things that they did to still make it believable.
Right. Right. Well, I think I hate to have to put everything squarely on Mr. DeGuay, however you say it.
Right.
But I felt like he was trying to reach out artistically on a film that really needed to be more straightforward.
Very much so. Very much so.
And I think he was given carte blanche by whoever was producing the film to do that.
It was low budget enough.
Well, yeah, but
low risk.
It seemed like he had enough money in his pocket to try things that if he'd really been strapped for cash, he would have been more innovative in how they did it, which would have made it more convincing. Because one thing I've learned from most movies is when you find a huge roadblock, you've got the good ones, they became creative and figured out a way around it. Bruce the Shark and Jaws, things like that. Yeah. When the big effect doesn't work, how can you make it work for what you've got? And then all of a sudden it becomes better because you took this woofy wowzer blinky thing out of the way and let the viewer decide what was happening.
Yes.
And they if they'd done that in those questionable CGI scenes,
a
whole lot better.
Absolutely. So should we start getting into this thing?
Oh, we're not done yet?
Oh, no. We have much more to go, my friend.
All right. I guess we should get to it then.
Okay, so starting off here, we have no pre-title. We just get into the title graphics, and they're fine, but it's hard to concentrate when you're looking at titles, and it's not hard to make out the fact that you're looking at someone pissing on cobblestones.
It could be a warning.
I mean,
this is what you're getting yourself into.
I mean, talk about foreshadowing. I mean, it's literally pissing on like all these people's credits, like all these,
Exactly.
all these people. It's like, this is it, and we're going to piss on their resume, and we're going to piss on their resume as well. And this is one of the parts of the movie that does have no payoff. Like there's no payoff. Why on earth would you start it with two kids peeing on the sidewalk?
Again,
why?
Directorial largesse.
And then run your credits across that.
That's it. You're sending some kind of a message there.
You really are. I mean, unless that was like a pickup shot where afterwards they were like, well, this thing sucks. Let's just have a couple of kids pee on this.
Yeah. But I feel like it was intentional. I feel like the first 6 minutes of that movie were designed to make you super uncomfortable.
Well, it works.
You got kids peeing. You got people sweating in the bedroom upstairs. You got super close-ups on Carlos smoking. You've got him burning the spider in the web.
Like really crunching into that apple. Like it's just like a macro shot of him biting that apple and then burning the spider. And
right. So when I watched it from my first watching, I'm like, is this going to be like some kind of like David Lynchian spy movie where we're going to go high art?
I know.
Spy movie. I'm like, that's kind of cool. I want to see that. And I did not get that.
We definitely did not get that at all. No. I mean, like once you got past maybe the sex scene, I guess, then it just sort of unravels after that. Like again, it's like a series of vignettes. So you've got these school kids in uniform, I think, like peeing, and then the shot cranes all the way up, and then you see what I'm guessing is a painted background of Paris.
Or really bad CGI. It was really not good, whatever it was.
Yeah, really bad CGI. And then the camera backs into the room where Carlos is having sex. And it's 1974 in Paris, France. And very explicit sex scene.
Oh, yeah.
like you said, I mean, it was like suddenly we were in Skinamax at night for a half second. And then I don't know if that was like our paying us back for having to watch two kids pee for the last like 3 minutes, or I don't know what was going on there. Anyway, so they get done
with the business,
and it's disguise time. So then we quickly find out that Carlos likes his disguises, and
boy, does he!
He really likes his disguises. So he puts on his hippy dippy outfit, and then we see he walks right past a young Agent Henry Fields, aka Donald Sutherland.
And you know he's young because his hair's been dyed blonde and it's long.
That's right. Therefore, Donald Sutherland must be young in this. So he walks in after picking up a cigarette light from Sutherland. Carlos walks in, and Sutherland sort of like thinks twice about who did I just give a light to or whatever.
He's like, why is this familiar? Why his spider sense was tingling in effect.
Yes. And then the next thing we see is I think it was the girl that he just had sex with. Carlos's girl.
No. It's the girl that's the girl he has sex with later in Libya.
Oh, okay. So she walks out, and then we see Carlos up on the balcony with like giggling with his grenade, which, okay, here's another thing. I don't know a whole lot about grenades.
Yeah, that was completely implausible what that grenade did, if that's what you're going to say.
But that grenade had the megawatt explosion power of like a nuclear missile.
It totally did. That grenade, and they say later that he uses explosives that are fragmentation explosives, so he gets the maximum damage, right? So a frag grenade, what it is designed to blow up and fragment. That's hence the term. So it's designed more to send projectiles into lots of people than necessarily...
Not to make lots of fiery explosion-y things.
Right, like you would see in your After Effects through Photoshop. So, yeah, the amount of people getting thrown across rooms...
Oh, my God. I know. The only thing I could gather was that maybe the girl had like turned on gas somewhere or something.
Well, they showed in the scene that the fire from the grenade ignited a gas line that was just in the restaurant bar they were in, and that's what caused the massive explosion on the outside. It didn't seem like it was intentional in any way, unless that was an open valve and they edited that scene out so you can make it more confusing. But I'm just saying, the grenade did not do what that grenade should have doed to begin with.
Yeah, it was just like absolute friggin' destruction. And then, of course, we cut to outside, and Donald Sutherland is all rattled because he knows that he just enabled the jackal or just let him slip out of his fingers, basically. And then French DST, or maybe it's the local police.
I think it was just I think it was their equivalent of the FBI, as that guy was.
Yeah, so he comes up and is talking to, well, how did you know it was a jackal and everything? And he's like, well, I'm CIA, and he knew who I was.
I'm CIA, and I could feel his hands on my hands, and I knew it was the jackal
because he knew who I was. I think that's what the
gist of it was.
Yeah,
you know what's funny? In the scene after it's blown up and he's sort of dazed and he's looking at all the dead bodies,
right?
You know, and there's the scene with the mother and the child. You know, all I kept thinking of was those really bad commercials from Starship Troopers.
the ones millions inside the movie.
Yeah, millions dead in Buenos Aires. Only good bug is a dead bug. I mean, just the way it was filmed felt so processed and propaganda, even though it wasn't supposed to be.
Right.
But the slow motion kind of thing, and just the violence and reaction, and just it
is kind of funny. It feels like every time Sutherland is trying to convince Aidan Quinn to do the assignment, it turns into that like propaganda-y type thing. That's the one part of this script that I'm like, oh God, like leave it alone. He just always goes back to like women and children, kids like your kids over there. They died. They were all bloody and like torn apart, like classic stuff. So then we cut to I guess a year later in Vienna at an OPEC ministers conference, and Carlos strikes again, and we see him go right up the front stairs, comes right in the front door as if nobody's,
there's no security outside.
There's no security on an OPEC meeting. Why would there be?
We got a metal detector. We're good.
It's fine. We're all fine. It's like a library, no big deal. So he goes up there and he kidnaps everybody at this meeting. It's like 70 people. And then you cut to the U.S. embassy and you see Jack there, and he's meeting with the head of the embassy because Carlos wants Jack at an exchange for the hostages to ID him, and they're going to give him ransom money, like $20 million for the hostages, and Jack wants him dead with, quote, minimal loss of life. And then the embassy guy's like, no, there's no loss of life, all that sort of thing.
We're the CIA. We don't do that anymore. Wink.
Wink, wink. And then, that's the funny thing too, that we get a little bit of overacting from Sutherland here too, where he acts like so angry that it's like he overacts it to the point where I'm like, oh well, now you're just acting. Now you're just now you're just pushing.
I can see the strings moving now.
Yeah, exactly.
I can see the guy's lips moving.
If you would have played that more subtle, it might have worked. But
absolutely.
Again, I think direction is everything in this movie. But anyway,
agreed.
Anyway, so nonetheless, we see Henry hook up with the old forearm stiletto gun thingy for the meetup, and then the right before he can do something, because Carlos at this exchange goes to shake Henry's hand, and then Henry is about to like shoot him, and then that's when the guy from the embassy steps in and goes, "Don't shake his hand. You know how that's going to look." And even though he doesn't know that he was actually trying to kill him or whatever, but.
Yeah. It was just supposed to convey how passionate he was about getting this guy, but it just kind of turned into this whole little mishmash of garbage.
It was really awkward. It just sort of just not great.
He did successfully ID him, though.
That's about all he did, and then just stood there and watched him take his $20 million. Then we cut to almost 10 years later. We're in Jerusalem in August of 1986. I always like how they include the month. And the only reason I can think of why they would include the month is because isn't there like a thing at the beginning of this movie where it says this was based on actual events or something like that?
And they're trying to locate that to the historical date that something actually happened.
Right. Even though at this point it's like, why even bother? But anyway, so now we're in August, whatever. We're in August. It's August. It's
1986.
Lovely. It's August of 1986. The weather's lovely, and we are in Jerusalem, and we see what looks like maybe Carlos taking pictures.
Well, we think it's Carlos at this point because we don't know any different.
Right, exactly. And so you see these local peeps start kind of following him, and he suddenly, he realizes that they're trying to corner him, so he makes a run for it. You get your prerequisite run through a third world country market, tearing things down and throwing barrels and whatnot. And anyway, he eventually gets caught by Israeli forces, and they have misidentified him as Carlos, because now we find out that he is Anibal Ramirez, aka a lieutenant commander in the Navy. So
and a dead ringer, by the way, for Carlos.
Yes, it's just a spitting image so close that they could basically play the same person. If it was an actor playing this, apparently it's just,
I mean, I couldn't tell the difference between the two actors myself. I don't even know I never knew where they made the switch.
I didn't either. I mean,
it was seamless.
So then, we get this interrogation, and again, we get a little bit more overacting from Aidan Quinn, where he's like, I'm going to sue you. I'm going to sue your country.
Well, that was funny. But so stick with me on this one.
Yes.
How do you convince somebody you're an American in a situation where they're not believing you're an American?
That's true.
You start threatening to sue people. I think that was put in there so it put a level of doubt in Ben Kingsley's Amos's character going, is anybody who complains this much about suing people, wouldn't they actually be an American?
Yeah. All right, go find his bag in the street, find out who he is. And then sure enough, because they have that shot of him opening his wallet and he's like, oh shit. So, so then after we see that he actually is who he says he is, we cut to Norfolk, Virginia, a month later, where he comes home to his family and distracts his kid so bad that he gets nailed in the side of the head while he's playing baseball. Every time I watched this movie for this review, I laughed during that moment because it's
great.
He gets clocked so hard by that pitch.
And he's up. He's like, I'm okay.
Yeah, so I just thought it was so funny that you can't. It's so distracting. Like, I'm just like, because
it doesn't belong in the movie.
It not at all, because it was like comedic level violent. And on top of it, it was almost as if Anibal didn't care that his kid just got clocked in the head. He just like kind of chuckled and like kissed his wife and he's like, I'm okay. And then he runs towards his dad or whatever. It was so overdone, but it was hilarious every time I saw it. So anyway, we cut to Henry Fields, who comes to the door of Ramirez's house and introduces himself as Jack Shaw. And then he just sort of stands there looking in wonderment at the resemblance that Anibal has to Carlos. And that's when Anibal is just sort of like, what are we here for? Like, what?
Well, he thinks Jack is a representative of the government that's coming to discuss his potential lawsuit against Israel, the Mossad, Golda Meir, who then Jack reminds of. That's going to be a little hard on that one because Golda Meir is actually dead.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, they're going to have to dig her up. I'm like, wow. If you said that in Israel, they would have shot you.
Yeah. Well, and honestly, I think it's funny that this could have been played much more comedically and probably would have worked better. But
maybe.
That's the only thing I can think of, because otherwise it just sort of comes off as Anibal being not super likable, actually, in a way. Just because he is so obsessed with like suing all these people and granted, he went through some shit.
He did,
but it's like, I gotta think that if you're an overseas enlisted, soldier for the United States and you get into some shit, I don't know. I understand he thinks he got a raw deal, but it's a weird moment.
But I mean, it's not the only time it comes up. He mentions it again when he meets Amos again.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a theme, and it feels like maybe either the writer, the director, or both felt that was how you conveyed how an American actually would be.
Right.
It's almost, and I have to suspect maybe the writers more than anything else, because Canadians know what Americans are like. They live up there. They're looking down at us going, I'm glad we're not those people.
Right. Yeah.
So unless you're doing it satirically, which maybe he was, maybe the director was, let's make it funny. Let's Starship Troopers this thing literally and make Americans seem like everybody thinks they are. I don't know. But it felt intentional. I just didn't understand what the intent was.
Yeah. So anyway, he lets them into his house, and then they go back to the backyard, and Henry or Jack, whoever, whatever you want to call Donald Sutherland at this point, he finally is able to get a word in edgewise with Annabelle, who's just reeling off all this stuff about how he wants to sue people or whatnot. He lets him know that he works for the CIA, and that telling him all about Carlos and how dangerous he is and how nobody has been successful in getting Carlos, but now he's got an ace in the hole because Annabelle looks just like Carlos. And so that's when we get that one line, which I did think was kind of funny that they dropped in there, where
I think you came to the wrong address. The man you're looking for, his name is Bond. James Bond. He lives over there in London, England, drives an Aston Martin. You can't miss him.
You can't miss him. He stands out.
Yeah. Allegedly, he's the world's greatest spy, but everybody seems to know who he is. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. So then we cut to this fancy ball reception thing, which is kind of the beginning of this kind of like a pressure play by Henry to get Annabelle to do this thing for him. But we're at this fancy ball, and we see the naval admiral greeting incoming Navy officers, and that's when we get that great little exchange between Annabelle and his wife when they're talking to the admiral, and the admiral assumes that he's Mexican, and then we get that horrible line about like, oh, well, I love Mexican food even though my stomach doesn't agree with it, or or whatever. And then we do get that really great little moment from his wife just being like very elegantly saying, well, you could come over and you'd actually be eating Cuban, and I think it would agree with you much more. And then,
right. And
it was so smooth, and she delivered it really well too. It was like, I will say, I think her performance might be my favorite of the whole movie, the more I think about it.
I mean, she convincingly played a naval wife who in good times and in bad times.
Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, she saw the script. She's like, I can nail this. And then she came in and she nailed it.
Yeah. So anyway, we find out that they're Cuban, not Mexican. And then suddenly Jax kind of swoops into Ramirez's way, and he's like, hi. And then he just full pest mode, and he's speaking Spanish to Annabelle's wife. And then Annabelle's like, well, she speaks English. And he's like, well, I bet you're just embarrassed to speak it, and just trying to twist the knife about, trying to make him feel somehow resentful about his heritage, about having to hide his heritage from the admiral, and really just trying to make it seem like the Navy were the bad guys, and and then he literally says in that scene, like, come to the dark side.
Oh God.
There were some moments of dialogue in there that were
I'm just me personally, I love a good Star Wars reference in a movie. Not being delivered by Donald Sutherland while he's trying to convince somebody to do something really, really bad. But I do like it normally.
It's usually dropped in without referencing
the
movie itself. And, but so Annabelle sort of shakes him off, and Jack is just sort of left sort of wringing his hands that he can't convince him there. And then we cut to the next day, I'm assuming, and Henry's back at Annabelle's doorstep, and this time he's got like a big 80s style, like a mobile phone, a big brick phone.
Oh yeah.
And he gives it to Annabelle to listen to, and like Annabelle's face just sort of falls flat. And you can only assume, was he talking to the president? I don't know.
The president, the admiral, maybe?
Or it could have been his own admiral that was, urging him to do this or whatever. But whatever it was enough to convince him to then fly by helicopter to this hospital with Henry, where they're both dressed undercover as surgeons, and they wind up in this operating room. This is so strange because like even they're dressed this way, and yet we don't get exposition from Annabelle until after this happens about, oh, you just took me here, this is all the setup. It's like, well, of course this is set up. You're wearing doctor clothes. You're not even, so anyway, they wind up there, and they see this kid who's supposed to have some surgery, and he's all like really badly.
Yeah, he was all mangled up from an explosion that Carlos caused,
allegedly. And then from there, you can start to see the horror on Annibal's face, and then Jack hands him this dossier filled with more horrifying pictures of all the death and destruction that Carlos has caused, trying to further urge him to do it. And it's just very almost made for TV kind of stuff in this area. It's a little rough. But you basically figure out that he's going to bend. And he's going to accept the mission and go forward with it. So naturally, since this is a secret CIA mission, Annibal can't tell his wife or kids anything. They just think he's headed off with the Navy again. So we get this goodbye scene with him and his family at a submarine base in Connecticut. And I have in my notes here, like the red hair that he's got like dyed right there is just... it's just really bad right there. I was just like, wow, like you guys did a screen test right there, and we're just like, yep, thumbs up, let's go for it. We'll fix it in post. So then
we can correct that, right? Sure, whatever.
Sure, it's fine.
Moving on.
So anyway, so that's when the training begins, and oh boy, this training. This training might be my favorite part of the whole thing because it's so over the top ridiculous.
It's like almost a half-hour montage.
Yeah.
With speedy bits of montage and then longer bits of montage.
Exactly. So we start off and we cut to this old junked out abandoned jail in Montreal, Canada. Convenient. Which practically looks like Siberia. And it's snow and it's very, very cold or whatever. So we find out that Annibal is now operating under the name Miguel, so that no one at this weird jail facility knows who he is. And then we sort of get the exposition as they're walking through the jail that allows us to believe why Aidan Quinn is playing this fellow is because we get this background bit where Henry brings up that Annibal's mother was Irish and that his dad was Cuban or whatnot, and so that's where the mix is. It's very Quantum of Solace. That's the closest estimation I can find to it. It's sort of. But anyway, I digress. So then they walk into this one room, which I like to call the world's worst Q branch. Which is the quote surveillance and satellite tracking center, and they state that they have satellites passing over Libya and East Germany, the two places that Carlos currently have safe houses in. But then he also mentions that the Russians know when these satellites pass over, and therefore Carlos probably knows as well. So, which is probably why they've had trouble locating him or whatnot. Right. So, and then. Ben Kingsley. Like we walk in and Amos turns around and immediately, Annibal is all worked up and pissed off.
Still gonna sue you.
Yeah.
Sue. Litigate. Litigate.
That's what Americans do, right? So anyway,
we shoot guns and we litigate.
So then we find out that Amos is part of a Israeli American
task force.
Yeah, like an American Israeli task force to try and hunt down Carlos. So yeah, we eventually come to know that Amos is kind of the good cop to Sutherland's bad cop. Amos explains that you can't just kill Carlos, because that's one of the things that we get right here is Annibal sort of questioning Amos, like, well, if you've seen him here and there, why didn't you just kill him? And Amos is like, well, you can't just kill Carlos if you get within eyeshot of him, because his people will come after you. They'll come after your family. You can't just do that. So I don't know if I believe that reasoning. That feels a little.
Maybe Carlos was in the mob. Who knows?
Yeah, well, that could very well be the case. I don't know. I didn't read up on the nonfiction version of Carlos, so I really don't know. But I like how they, in this moment when they're talking about how they've been watching him and they know kind of where he's going back and forth between, they say, don't let all this equipment fool you. But the equipment in that room looks like digibeta decks that I used to work on when I was like an assistant editor in like 2007. Like, there's not high-tech equipment in there. But that's what happens when you watch older spy movies. You get old tech.
And the funny thing about that is that was probably mostly non-functional equipment that was purchased from companies that actually used it as surplus, and then they just throw it in because people don't know, right? You know what it is.
Yeah, so they just called it surveillance equipment, and or maybe it was, and they just didn't know that it really was surveillance equipment. Who knows? So anyway, so then we get to the training, like, improper in this movie, and I think I have a theory about this part of it. My theory is that Kristen Duguay started with this training sequence and built the rest of the movie around it, because this is where he creates all these things that will eventually pay off. Like, he clearly thought about, I'm going to do this training sequence, and then I'm going to make sure that he uses everything he learns in this training sequence at some point down the line.
Yes.
And that was his whole, and everything else was just, well, I need a story to go around this training scene, so I'll use this Carlos guy as my MacGuffin and proceed forward.
Hey, you know what? It is as valid and plausible a theory as anything else about how this movie was made the way it was made.
Yeah. So they start in this cold cemetery that's outside of the prison, and we get this. They're walking past. They're talking about, well, what's the mission? And they won't tell him exactly what the mission is. And then they stop, and he's like, what were the last 3 names that we passed on the tombstones? And of course he can't do it. He only knows like one of them or whatever. And he's like, well, what does it matter? And they're like, well, these are things that you need to know. You need to be aware of your surroundings at all times.
Carlos would have known the name of every headstone that he passed as we were walking.
Yes, they try and explain that Carlos is highly trained and all this stuff they're about to teach him so that he can become Carlos and be a quote unquote Superman. So whatever that is supposed to mean. So then we get this. The first of a couple, what I like to call Karate Kid style training moments, where he is forced to eat this giant pot full of porridge, and there's no answer as to why. This is his version of sand the floor. So he has to eat all this porridge, and we don't find out right away. And then he does this paintball exercise at the cemetery where he has to run around and shoot the name they call out with. Meanwhile, there's like three guys out there with paintball guns shooting at him that he has to avoid in the meantime. So that's the next thing we see. Then he has to go into this model kitchen that's complete with a stocked fridge where he has 30 seconds to look in the fridge and try and remember everything in it and what that would mean. So, and this is all leading up to things that it's so crazy that they really did. They were like, okay, he's going to learn this. He's going to learn this. He's going to learn this. And then he's going to be out there and it's suddenly going to pay off.
Right. But only those skills.
Yes. Only those skills. And I think there's one, if I remember correctly, I probably have it in my notes here somewhere that doesn't pay off. There's one that doesn't. So anyway, so he has to remember everything that's in the fridge. Then we get some Rocky IV style sit-ups from the balcony handrail where he's leaning back over the handrail and doing these like sit-ups from Rocky, like he's in Siberia in Rocky IV.
Right.
And then meanwhile, Ben Kingsley is like up in his face smoking this cigar. And I wonder if that has something to do with the training as well. So anyway, so then they take him outside, and then just one more thing, they take him outside in the cold and they attach a tracking transmitter to him, and then they have these remote control snowmobiles chasing after him, which is so weird. They had three guys to shoot him. They don't have 3 guys to drive the
snowmobiles.
Were they off that day? Like, what were they worried that this? Well, anyway,
I couldn't understand why they had to be remote controlled unless they were robots slave to that tracking device. Maybe
that's the only thing I can think of, because you never see somebody with an actual remote,
right?
They're just following him.
Snowmobile drones.
So then that's when they turn up the music and we truly get a fast-paced training montage.
Right.
It's a training montage.
It's a motherfucking montage.
So then we get in very quick order all the things we already saw: cemetery, push-ups, cigar in the face, driving in the snow. Oh, that's the other one. Driving in the snow. Don't hit Donald Sutherland. And then more porridge. Yuck. Snowmobiles. More driving. So finally, after all this, he's like super pissed off, and they're sitting at the meal table that he eats at in this prison every day, and he finishes his bowl of porridge, and then Ben Kingsley is like, great, now eat more porridge. And that's when Annabelle just like loses his fucking shit all over. And so they finally explain to him, and that's when we get the stand the floor, wax on, wax off. Yep. Oh, these are karate moves. So that's when they explain to him that Carlos hated porridge because his dad fed it to him every single day, and how Carlos's dad smoked cigars and he hated smelling them every day, yada, yada, yada. And so all these things are meant to train him to be just like Carlos and even have instinctual reactions to certain things, visceral reactions to very specific things, so that he's more like Carlos in that respect. So, yeah. So from here, we get another stage kitchen moment where now you can tell that he's improving, and Annabelle seems much more observant of things, and he's able to put 2 and 2 together faster. And then we're in the cemetery training, and Annabelle nails it. And then from here, Henry finally sort of divulges that the plan to get Carlos is to make the KGB essentially kill him for them, and that they're going to convince the KGB that Carlos is ready to defect to the CIA for like $50 million. But then, of course, Amos and Henry, which is sounds like the name of another movie we could. If this movie had actually been like amazing and required a spin-off, it'd be called Amos and Henry. The Wild Adventures of Amos and Henry. Anyway, Amos and Henry tell him he isn't ready. And then, of course, Annabelle walks away in a huff, and he's super pissed off. And he walks back into the jail, and he has some more porridge. And then we find out that Amos and Henry had put drugs in the porridge. And so he gets this, Annabelle has this crazy hallucination scene. And this is where we get more
right
bad
back into Lynchian, man.
We get more weird CGI nuttiness. But he sees it's this thing where they purposefully are trying to mind fuck Annabelle into thinking that he and Carlos are the same person. That's what they're essentially trying to get across, because you see things that are in Carlos's life, and then you see things that are in Annabelle's life, and they're somehow weirdly mingling or whatever.
Yes. He's finally bringing it all together so that he can go be what they need him to be.
Right. And it looks like, well, it's really funny because they cut to the next morning, and Amos and Henry are walking in, and they're like, did we go too far with this time? I don't know, or whatever. And they walk in, and Annabelle appears to be fine, sort of, but he looks a little maniacal, almost like Joker crazy, kind of like he's like somehow pleased with himself that he made it through the night and all of his hallucinations, but he doesn't seem quite like the same person anymore, which, I mean, good on Aidan Quinn for being convincing as somehow, sort of changing his personality right there.
Right.
So that sort of works. And
there's some moments. There's some moments.
There are a couple of moments. That's the thing. It's like, this is truly, I mean, I think we can just come right out and say this is pretty much on the director, because clearly each of these actors have chops in moments where they're allowed to do what they are paid to do, what they're good at doing. And I think, here and there, they get it right. Maybe when the director's not looking.
Or all the takes that he got weren't as good, or maybe they got lost, or I guess we have to go with that one.
Right, exactly. Yeah, there was a fly in the last take, so he had to use the other one. Who knows?
Guess we're going with this one. I guess
we're going with this one. But yeah, so basically we find out that Annabelle is now officially ready, which kind of takes us into the second act of this treacherous movie.
Treacherous. That's a nice way of putting it. So now we're going to actually get to the spy part of this spy movie.
Right.
We end up cutting over to the Dead Sea in Israel. Annabelle, Jack, and Amos are all driving around in a car.
Oh boy!
And
oh my God!
He thinks he's getting ready to jump into the mission, but what he finds out is that he's actually jumping into more training, specifically how to be Carlos with the ladies.
He's literally learning how to have sex like Carlos.
Exactly. Carlos After Dark. And I mean, between Amos and Henry with the whole, you're going to like this assignment, not going to be really hard for you.
Yeah. Meanwhile, so cringy right there. Like you get that gross smile from Sutherland, just like he thinks that somehow Annabelle's going to love this. And he's like, no, this sucks.
This is a good Catholic boy over here who loves his wife.
That's
and
right.
Now you're telling him that as part of his training, he has to go cheat on her.
Right. Exactly.
And he doesn't seem at all okay with that.
Yeah. And we get some disgusting lines in the car.
Yeah. And the one line where Ben Kingsley completely reveals who he actually is as a human being, not necessarily his character, but he's like, when in doubt, close your eyes. Think of England. I don't really think an Israeli is going to say that, but Ben Kingsley's Israeli is definitely going to say that.
Exactly.
It's very on brand.
Yeah. That line from Sutherland of, don't look at this as cheating on your wife. Look at it as fucking your flag.
Yeah. Well,
wow.
Okay.
Yeah. That was definitely a Canadian. This is definitely what Americans do. This is definitely how Americans feel. Maybe 45% of the country feels that way. I don't know.
Lest we all forget that Donald himself is Canadian.
Yes.
But yeah, it's bad, and it goes from bad to worse because we get this little sort of interstitial moment where we cut to KGB headquarters in Moscow, and they've learned about the fake information that's been planted that there's 50 million put into an account to a Mr. Paulo Ortega, and they're now trying to find out who Paulo Ortega is and see who they're dangling a very large carrot in front of. Although it was all in Russian, so they weren't any bad Russian accents like that one. Then we jump back to Israel or wherever it is that we are, getting ready to walk onto the world's weirdest porn set because. If you thought that opening scene was weird, here's where you start getting the Cinemax that I remember as a 16-year-old boy, which was basically softcore produced or hardcore that was edited to be softcore. And it was just like, hello, my name is da-da-da. And you have to learn to be like him. He wants to seduce you. He wants to love you. He wants you to love him and do nothing more. Oh my God!
Can we just talk?
Terrible.
This set. It looks like they are in some building where people have been squatting and dealing drugs out of, but for whatever reason they've all abandoned it now. And now
she's in there to fuck him.
Right. It's so. Like Red Shoe Diaries mixed in with a little extra violence for good measure.
Yep. It's like Stefan on Saturday Night Live. This set has everything. Janky hoe with a button-down dress, dirty floors, cigarette smoking, and smacking a bitch around.
It's something else, man.
And I mean, the point, I get the point. She's trying to say that the reason Carlos is able to influence so many women to get them to do what he wants is he's so charismatic and he's very good in bed.
Yes.
And anybody he's so good at these things that any woman who's been with him would know if it wasn't him.
Right. That's the whole idea behind it. It's just, I really wonder if this is like a thing in the real life Carlos's biography, or if this is just like some fantasy in the mind of Mr. DeGuy. And Mr. DeGuy was like, you know what? I'm going to use this as an opportunity to put my hat in the ring to be the next director of HBO late night style shows.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's put in there, I think, to really drive home that he becomes Carlos, because there's payoff for this later on when he comes back from the mission.
Right.
But the way it's handled, it's like, okay, well, I'm a little tired of shooting an action adventure movie right now. Now I just want to shoot softcore porn. And so this scene is going to be set up like a soft porn Cinemax film or something off the Playboy channel that you were lucky enough to not see scrambled. This is what this is.
I'm just glad that they did go to a sort of a film burn transition to get out of there before it got really cringy, before it got overly cringy and overly graphic. I mean, it's graphic, but it's not
as it is. It was R-rated. It certainly could have gone more if they really wanted it to. Right. And God knows, maybe it did. And somebody's like, no, Chris, we're drawing the line right here.
It's bad enough that this is going to be a really like local release.
So anyway, so he learns how to fuck like a porn star, I guess. And we move on to I'm going to butcher this poor girl's name, but Agnieszka.
I think it's Agnieszka.
I'm going to say Agnieszka because I can pronounce that. If it's wrong, who cares? So meanwhile, so we jump to Paris, where a fancily dressed woman picks up her mail, and she's all beside herself because she thinks she's been summoned by Carlos. There's a little message here coming, and I need you to do something for me, and blah 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 blah. And it's very fancy writing for what it is.
Apparently, Carlos's calligraphy is outstanding as well.
Is there anything this guy can't do? Honestly, I mean,
he is Superman.
Imagine if he was a force for good.
Imagine.
Anyway, we cut from there to Amos telling Annabelle that the KGB is now monitoring Agnieszka and that he has to meet her and convince her that he is Carlos to get her to buy into the scheme that they're trying to do, because she's a key element to it. Right. They want the KGB seeing Carlos so that they put together that he's Paul Ortega and that he's the guy and the things. And all the plot things that are going on there. So he has to ask her to handle some bank transactions for him, which will then give an electronic trail.
Go into the bank account of said Ortega person.
Right. And so establishing that that's exactly who he was, which will then allow the KGB to understand that. They'll make sure that the KGB will see Carlos talking to someone, they being Amos and Henry, with someone from the CIA, but then of course turns out to be Henry with the bad hair. Anyway,
Henry with the bad hair.
I mean, well, it was closer to the good hair from earlier, but
not to be confused with Becky with the good hair.
No, definitely not to be confused with that. So training done, establishment set. The mission begins. Yay!
Well, we do get that interesting scene between Amos and Annabelle where they have that heart-to-heart talk on the road, and that big truck like flies by. Drives right behind it. He doesn't even flinch, and it's sort of that final like I'm a good cop moment. He's trying to, because this is another payoff thing that they do where Amos is trying to say you're going to have this point where you don't know you're going to have a moment of panic and you're not going to know what to do. And the only way to get out of it is to channel what Carlos would do.
Right.
And so of course, that's exactly what happens basically in the next scene almost.
Exactly.
But yeah. And then I don't know what the whole idea was behind having the truck drive right past him without him flinching. Is it just
the director thought it was cool?
It's just supposed to make Amos seem really cool, calm, and collected. And so be like Amos.
Yeah, exactly. Always be like Amos. If you can't be like Batman, be like Amos. Be like Amos. So we get on to the mission beginning. They've established that Carlos is at Tripoli. So we're at Tripoli, Libya. It's May 1987. Dun, 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 dun. In case you're all wondering, whatever your favorite movie was in May, this was happening when that movie was out.
That's right.
And he comes in, but this time as Carlos. Although not as Carlos, but Carlos in disguise again. and thankfully not a hippie disguise, because, it is 87 after all. He had to look more like a yuppie, not a hippie, which I think he pulled off pretty well.
But again, a dude playing a dude disguised as another dude.
Disguised as another dude where, do you think Downey watched this for Tropic Thunder to really get his motivation? If I ever meet him, I'm asking. That's the first question. But anyway, so he gets in, he gets through customs, he gets a whole sort of, what business are you in? Petroleum. Okay. Woo. Off he goes.
Right.
Nobody cares. He's just a guy in a suit. He arrives at the hotel where he's staying at him. realizes there's eyes everywhere. And to be honest with you, for someone who would be Carlos, he was way too conspicuous about looking at people. For someone who doesn't want to be looked at, he was overly conscious about looking at people.
Well, and it doesn't help that he's driving into town in a nice car. He's wearing, like a $3,000 suit. And then he's being really like free with saying hello to all these kids that are swarming him as he gets out of the car.
Well, I mean, we could probably discuss motivations on that. They wanted him flashy, so he was on somebody's radar, blah, blah, blah.
Exactly.
Honestly, I just think the director's like, wouldn't it be cool if? And that's what they did.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm serious. I feel like that's what it is more and more of the time. But anyway, he gets up to the room and, earlier during the that little discussion, the tete-a-tete that he had with Amos in the truck, he says, you're going to get to a point where you're freaking out. Just got to dunk your head in the water, pull your head out. When you're looking at yourself in the mirror, you have to become Carlos. Right. And so there we are in the hotel, dunking my head in the water. I guess it was so on the nose. It could have been a pimple or dirty pores. I mean, but he gets in there and he gets out. And I mean, he's Carlos when he comes out, man.
Yeah.
He got his personal shit together and figured it out.
There you go.
From there, we cut out to two dudes on a stakeout, watching for Anginesca, who is walking to meet Carlos, perhaps. She comes in and is met by someone who she thinks is some kind of an agent who's demanding to know where Carlos is, want to know where he's going to meet him. She's getting interrogated, basically, and she thinks her cover's been blown and she's hosed. Only to find out that no, it's the dude playing a dude disguised as another dude, disguised as another dude.
Another one more layer with the bald cap on.
That's right.
He's so he's so gropey when he's like pushing her down too.
Well, yeah. Didn't it sort of vaguely remind you of the whole French guy talking in True Lies? No. Slower than that. I mean, it was just super creepy, the whole thing. And then he pulls off the Lex Luthor thing, and poorly. I mean, I have watched Tom Cruise pull off a mask. There is a good way to pull off a mask, and there's a bad way, and he was not doing it the Tom Cruise way. Absolutely. And it was just a headpiece, and he couldn't even get that right.
Nope, they had to cut away.
That's right. So off comes the bald cap. Click, click, click. And all of a sudden he's Carlos, and then he goes through and does the little Carlos things to convince her that he's Carlos, because he learned all those things in the training montage.
Right.
And then we get a quick cut to Amos and Henry on a boat, and they've been sort of cutting back and forth on this. And
this is actually kind of funny.
Like, yeah, what do you think he's doing right now? And Amos is like, practicing safe sex. That might be the funniest line in the whole movie.
It might actually be.
To be honest with you. So as we get past that, once again, people having sex.
Yep.
Although it was a little more subdued on this one. It was the aftermath more than anything else.
Right. Well, they do have that. They do throw in that one little moment where she's like, "You're different," or something like that. And then he like gets more. Then he says some like.
He deflects.
Shithead. Yeah, he deflects and says some shithead thing, and then just goes after going after.
Right.
And then she's like, "Oh, I guess you're still the same old Carlos."
Still the same old asshole that I can't stop loving.
Classic love story.
That's right. So he gets up, goes into the kitchen, and starts looking around at things and using his new superpowers of detection, comes to the conclusion that someone's been there recently that wasn't him and wasn't her, and that he guesses from that she may have met with someone else. So he immediately goes into full Carlos interrogation mode and really just lays in on her. I mean, who are you? What are you saying? And eventually gets his gun out and, threatening, I'm going to shoot you if you don't tell me what you know.
Right.
And finally she reveals that, she was burned by the French Secret Service, and that, that's what's driving this whole thing.
Right.
And then, of course, he's like, oh, shit, got to go because here they come. And boy, those French guys are running. Run.
Now, I will say that this escape might be, like you were talking about, the action moments in this movie are probably the best put together moments in the movie.
Agreed. Probably all shot by a second unit director who knew what he was doing.
Yeah. So there you go. And so, yeah, this escape actually works pretty darn well. There's some good little bits in here that are actually kind of fun to watch.
Yeah, and unlike some other spy movies, I'm looking at you, Mission Impossible, fairly plausible in the way everything was kind of put through.
Yeah.
Other than that ankle-busting jump that he did to the other balcony, I had a little trouble with no tuck and roll on that he was able to walk and run after that successfully. But I mean, we get a lot of good moments, you know. Like I said, he jumps off from the balcony into another room, kind of Quantum of Solace as well.
Yeah.
He gets into the stairwell where he gets into a fight with an agent, shoots the guy in the head. And I mean, at that point, he starts getting fucked up because he just, not only did he shoot somebody, he knows that they're French Secret Service, so they're allies of the United States.
Right.
So he starts having a moment.
Oh, yeah. He has a parade of moments.
I mean, it's like all you wanted to, when those scenes came on, you hear the music from Kill Bill when the bride's looking at anybody. It's like,
you get the double imprint of
right, and the camera pulling in and pulling back, and they double expose it, so that it's like it's some kind of psychedelic bullshit. But he shoots a guy in the head. He manages to get from rooftop to rooftop and eventually down to the ground level, and it's suddenly nighttime apparently.
Yeah.
So that was a really long rundown wherever he was going.
Yeah.
But so from there, we get to see him basically do the graveyard shooting where there's three other gunmen. And he's all like, Kapow 1, Kapow 2, Kapow 3. And instead of relishing it being, what a fucking badass I am, he's like, I killed 3 more innocent people. Oh, quit being such a crybaby. I mean, come on. Bond doesn't cry when he shoots 3 guys in a row.
He's a sociopath, so.
Well, there is that. That's true. You know, there was that moment, though, when he's on the balcony before he jumps off onto the other balcony.
Yes.
Where he takes the silencer off the pistol so he can shoot more accurately.
Yes.
See, little moments like that made me wonder, who was talking about grenades? Was it the same armorer who was talking about pistols? And did that guy say, yeah, grenades don't do that? And the director's like, well, mine do. And I don't know. But I did like, the guy falling, the last guy shoots, falls from the roof, lands on power lines. And to make him feel even worse, doesn't die from a bullet wound.
He dies from
electrocution.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. So that's really playing with Annabelle's head at this point. It's really is the point where they're trying to say his training is paying off. Everything you watch in the montage, you're seeing here. Super detective skills, deadly accuracy, can fuck like a stallion. People will do what he wants. He can be mean. He can be an ass. All they really need was him running past a kid eating porridge and him going, blah, blah, blah. And then shooting the kid, and you would have had everything.
And that reminded me, that's the one thing that they never pay off. They never pay off the damn porridge, ever.
They don't, because he doesn't have a moment where he's talking about it with Carlos.
Nope.
He doesn't have anything. It's just a point saying, we're making you do this so that you become more like him, but there's nothing that says that it's going to apply. And honestly, would you think porridge eating would apply? I feel like it could have. Maybe like a drinking contest, like in Raiders of the Lost Ark, was a porridge eating contest. I don't know, but they obviously didn't feel like they needed to put it in the script, and I don't really care.
Yeah.
So he gets in a taxi cab that he steals from this poor guy who was just trying to make a living. And as he's driving, crashes into red paint, which spills all over the car. We have another boop,
oh my
moment.
God! Oh my God! Like he's got instant PTSD.
Right, from killing these guys. There's no shock. He's not in shock. He's not in any kind of adrenaline rush. He's instantly feeling everything that regular human beings would need a couple minutes to come down from before they start feeling it.
Right.
In the matter of the chase, all of his tires come off. He's driving on the rims, going downstairs, quickly pulls up and yanks the e-brake, and the car magically sends the car chasing him over him, onto stairs, and then it blows up.
Yes. Well, that's how physics and chemistry and
that's how movie physics work, I guess.
Did cars explode that easily in the 80s?
Wasn't there? What was the car that did? Well, that was the Pinto. I think they fixed that by the 80s.
Yeah,
they should have been driving Yugos.
I think they were driving Volvos, weren't they? I don't know.
It was given Libya, if it were anywhere, there was some kind of a French car. I'm guessing.
Oh yeah,
a Peugeot, Citroen, something like that. I don't know. But I mean, regardless of what they are, they don't blow up like that.
Yeah, exactly.
They don't blow up like that, just like French cafes don't blow up from one frag grenade. We loved our fire effects in this movie, and they were all shitty, is what I'm trying to say. So the local authorities arrive. Animal's gone, of course. But meanwhile, somebody in a van, would it be the KGB?
KGB?
Nobody's talking, so we don't know from exits what is happening.
Going to take picture here.
But they're taking pictures because that's what the CIA wants.
That's right.
They want proof. So then we jump over to the real Carlos, who's in bed with a woman. It's like, that's all this guy does is kill people and have sex. I mean, I'm not saying I'm not slightly jealous, but that's all he does. One of his guys comes in and tells him there's been a shooting. Of consequence, I'm having sex. Is this really that important?
Well, you know.
Henchmen are so hard to find, even in the 80s.
They just always interrupt at the wrong time.
Exactly. So magically, Annibal has found his way back to Amos and Henry on their boat. And of course, he's pissed off because Angeniska was working for the French DST and he had to shoot a bunch of them. And rather than getting any kind of sympathy, or we understand why you might have some concerns about this, Annibal, we're like, cops get shot all the time. It's occupational hazard. You did
friendly
what you had
fire.
To do to survive.
They
friendly
didn't know.
Fire.
Yeah. They didn't know what we were doing. We didn't know what they were doing. It was one of those classic fuck ups that we'll all laugh about in the community 20 years from now. But you still got a job to do, son. So get your shit together. That's right.
Oh my gosh.
So silly spies.
Yeah. What are you gonna do?
Hashtag silly spy shit.
Hashtag silly spy shit. So then we fade back from Annibal to Carlos, which is, let's stop here for a second. There were some good transitions between Annibal and Carlos. There were some bad ones where they're trying to get you to bite into you as one or the other.
Right.
But they did have some pretty good transitions. And like this one really showed you how good an actor Aidan Quinn actually is, going from being that to this exact same guy, and the intensity levels being so much different.
Yes. It's literally the same. You're fading from the same actor to the same actor.
Right.
And yet it's clearly two different characters.
Right. So he's talking about why would Angeniska betray him. So he then starts talking a lot about how someone must have leaked his safe house, and he's got the two dudes and the chick, and he's like, but walks up to the guy, but it's not you. You're my number one. Oh God.
Does his
and then shoots him.
Does his best Jack Palance impersonation.
His best Jack Nicholson doing Jack Palance.
Yes.
So he's also the guy playing the dude playing the dude playing the other dude. Shoots that guy, and I got to tell you, not a whole lot going in that scene, but that blonde chick that was in there looked genuinely terrified.
Genuinely
she didn't know that was like the director's like, I'm not going to tell them what happened. Let's get their real reaction. I heard Ridley Scott did that in Alien.
I would not put it past Christian Duguay.
No. So kills this dude, and then they cut 2 days later in Paris, where Ponytail Guy not only shoots Angeniska in the head, but for good measure blows up all the cars around them to kill all the security guys. As if to say, fuck you, and the horse you rode in on. Boom.
Quite literally.
So she's dead. Carlos is avenged. We move on to Heathrow Airport, where we see Annibal covertly sitting down next to two people that could be easily identified by anybody in Carlos' army, I would imagine, or group of people.
Right.
Just having a little chat at the airport with Amos and Henry. He's ready to go home, see his family. I ain't doing this shit anymore. I just killed 4 people for no reason, and we aren't any closer to where we need to be. So fuck you. I'm going home. And Henry's like, no, you're not. You're not doing this because of this, that, and the other, blah, blah, blah. Now I'm going to go check on our flight connections.
Which seems silly to me.
Yeah, just like
I'm going to go to Wetzel's. I'm going to go to Wetzel's Pretzels real quick. I'll be back.
I got to go hit the Hudson News over here and go get John Grisham's new paperback for the flight. I'll be back. But he goes. Annibal gets up to walk around.
Although that's actually exactly where Annibal goes. Hudson News.
Right. To go get something out of the gift shop. And he walks in to get some smokes, and looking at a newspaper, the Ponytail Guy shows up thinking he's Carlos, gives him a secret code password, that he can't answer, that he tries to bullshit his way through it.
Right.
But the guy's not having any of it. So, he's basically like, I'm just going to go ahead and kill you. Let's go to the bathroom and I'll do it there. Because you know why they went to the bathroom? It's because they're like, Jason's going to hate this scene.
That's right. We've got an hour and 26 minutes into this film, but nope, we're not going to miss the chance to piss Jason off. It is not
a true spy movie until we have a fight scene in a bathroom.
That is right.
So that 26-year-old kid living in an undisclosed location can go, God damn it, a fucking bathroom scene? So anyway, we're in the bathroom.
But in the meantime, we see that like Amos sees
all of this going on from his vantage point where he was sitting, and he's like, oh shit, something's going down. So I need to go make sure that it doesn't go down.
Right.
And it goes down
poorly.
He shoots Ponytail guy. Ponytail guy gets him twice.
The double whammy.
And then we get the whole Riggs, you got to go on without me kind of thing over here where he's dead. And can I just say, honestly, nobody dies like Ben Kingsley.
He doesn't. Well, he's a great actor.
I know. This scene is so out of place for this shitty movie.
It is amazing that they got him. It is
right.
It is mind-boggling. It's bonkers. I don't
because in his death scene, he's like, No, you need to chill out. I'm done. You need to get out of here so this can continue. Don't let this be for nothing.
Right.
Son. I mean, you're getting this whole dad thing. The whole vibe was like, Annabelle now has to go on because Amos sacrificed himself for, and his dying wish was, you need to see this through.
Right.
All those feels were right there in that scene.
Oh, yeah. That was like one of those actual moments that
it's
against all odds.
If the whole movie had been this thing would have been on everybody's radar, even in limited release. Although if it had been that movie, it wouldn't have been in limited release. I'm just going to say it. But anyway, so Annabelle books, we get to the aftermath of the shootout. Henry and Annabelle are in the car. This is they're back. I think they're back in England, right? Because they're at Heathrow. Yeah. So they're that's my favorite. They're driving in the Jag, which isn't fancy enough to have an unconnected mobile phone.
Right.
You see the cord coming out. Donald Sutherland talking on the phone, driving on the right side of the car with the car.
Well, technically, it is still the 80s, so
that's true.
I'll allow it.
All right, but okay, fine. That was the only vintage Jag they could find that had a cell phone in it, and it just happened to be period accurate. Okay, I'll buy that. And he's having what sounds like a baking conversation about the transaction being available or closed, and the transaction's closed, which is CIA spy speak for mission's canceled, can't do it. This is also the scene where he's trying to talk Annabelle off of the ledge, right? I had a password that went bad one time too, and the password was "it's hotter than the last 3 summers."
Yes, this is like one of the few times where Henry actually tries to show sympathy. It's so weird the way that Donald Sutherland's character vacillates between being this like empathic,
hyper-focused asshole, and then an empathic, caring human being.
Right. It's so weird that he just flips. He flips that switch so hard and so quickly, so often in this movie. And this is one of those moments where he actually becomes a caring human being for like 2 seconds, because for once it's actually Annabelle who wants to keep the mission going.
Right. And he's saying, this is what happens, man.
Right.
I'm not the madam kid. I'm just one of the whores.
And so are you.
I'm actually going to use that line the next time somebody gets pissed off at a meeting about something nobody can control. I'm just throwing that in. They're like, I'm not the madam kid. I'm just one of the whores. So are you. That's what I'm saying. At my cover job that I have.
Yes. The
Harumph.
Yes, because clearly we're being paid a great deal of money here at the CIC to.
Correct.
That's right.
And so that more or less that tearful moment of, I understand where you're coming from and I cheer you up, but hey man, that's just the way it is. Shit's done. We're moving on.
Yeah.
That pretty much takes us out of Act 2 and throws us into Act 3.
Okay, so
hey Ben, we're around the horn.
We're around the horn. We are around the horn. And speaking of being around the horn, Annabelle has now returned home, and Annabelle does not settle in well. when he gets back home.
No.
And his wife, notices his not so subtle new sex moves. That's kind of awkward. She's just like, whoa, what are you doing? I'm not cool with this at all. Again, she manages against all odds to act really well in a very uncomfortable scene.
Right. Well, the whole subtext on this thing, and it's just me, but he keeps saying, I was in a submarine full of men for the last 6 months. And I'm like, and that's where you learned that?
And that's where you learned all these new sex moves?
Yeah. I mean, what is the parallel we're trying to draw here? Exactly.
So, yeah.
I know, it's terrible for me to think that, but it's the right. Don't blame me. It's the writing, not me.
Exactly. So, yeah. So she's like, have you been with someone else? And he gets really defensive and angry and is just basically a all around asshole because he's dealing with a whole bunch of shit inside his head
that he can't tell her.
That he can't tell her about.
Till he can.
Until he can, which is just sort of at his discretion. But anyway,
exactly.
We'll get to that. So then the next day or whenever it is, he's at his kid's baseball game and he nearly kills this other dad for being a shithead, which, I mean, he kind of deserved it, but not quite that much.
he may have been punched in the face, but definitely not the beatdown that he got.
Now, you don't need to send his nose bone up into his brain
3 times.
Right. Over yelling at your kid for missing a catch or something.
And then traumatizing his kid for the rest of his life. Not Annibal's kid, but the dude what got beat up's kid.
Yeah, exactly. So, of course, he goes to jail for this, but then Henry shows up and bails him out. He's got the CIA equivalent of the Kingsman coin, the get out of jail free card. And right. So then for some reason, this next scene actually works for me. Like, this is one of those little bits of good in this ridiculous movie. And this is where, so he bails him out because the CIA wants to reignite going after Carlos.
Right.
And so he starts off really friendly and tries to manipulate Annabelle and going off of his sentimentality over and his guilt over the fact that Amos died and whatnot, that he still feels somewhat responsible or that he needs to make up for that or whatever. But then just like that, he flips the switch and is literally threatening Annabelle that, I could just, make it really easy for Carlos to find you and your family if you don't cooperate. And so it just gets super ugly. And then Annabelle's ready to kick his ass. And then Henry does this weird little jump into his car like evil person and drives away. It's a really weird moment, but it's also it just makes him so despicable in that moment. Mm-hmm. So in one way it works, in another way it's so over the top. I don't know. This movie's so weird. So now that the CIA wants to reignite this mission, Annabelle goes back home and decides to finally come clean to his wife about what he's been up to. And he does it in the ugliest way possible because she's legitimately has concerns because he's being an asshole.
Right.
And he's being verbally abusive and violent to a kid's dad at a baseball game. And what the hell? And what are these weird new sex moves? And instead, he just gets super defensive and talks about what he's had to do for his country. And somehow that's supposed to make it all better. And it could have made it all better if he didn't dish it out the way that he does. He kind of says it in a way like she's supposed to, almost as if she's supposed to know it.
Right.
It's half you're supposed to know it, and it's also half you don't understand what I've been going through type thing. But it's well, how would she know? How would you know? How would she know what he's been going through? So,
as far as you know, you were learning weird sex moves on a submarine with a bunch of guys. So,
yeah. So that happens. So then we realize that he is back in on the mission because we cut now. It's now East Berlin, October of 1987. And we see 2 agents on a stakeout in Berlin, probably Carlos's other safe house, when somebody comes out of the safe house on a motorcycle. And the agents follow, and the guy on the motorcycle is Annabelle in disguise as Carlos in disguise.
Once again,
dude playing a dude playing another dude disguised as another dude. So And he knows he's being followed. And so he goes to the biker bar where he meets Donald Sutherland with the bad hair.
The good bad hair.
The good bad hair.
Because you forgot to mention that Aidan Quinn is also wearing bad hair.
Bad hair.
It's a bad hair day.
It's a bad hair day for everyone at the CIA. And so they're at this biker bar, and they both know that the KGB now see quote unquote Carlos meeting with a known CIA agent.
Right.
And sure enough, after seeing the pictures that the agents took, they decide to move in on him. So then Annabelle leaves, I guess, and Annabelle shows up at the safe house.
Right.
And Henry is following behind, and he flashes his car lights, signaling Annabelle to get in the car. But Annabelle wants to stay until he knows Carlos is dead for sure, because at this point, he is in it to win it. Because
right. He wants it over with. He wants the threat gone.
Right. He just wants these people out of his life. So just then we see the KGB hit squad show up in a couple of different vans. And what?
Nothing. Just the end of this scene.
I know.
Seems so stupid in comparison to where it was going. So please continue.
I know. Because there's parts in here that are kind of cool. But
yes,
it just fails so miserably at the very end. So the vans show up, and Henry has to drive off and go around the horn before he can show up again.
Right.
So at that point, we see Annabelle take off his disguise. He's watching as the KGB start invading the safe house, which I thought was actually kind of cool. Like,
it was.
They did some cool shots. They did some like the glass cutting and.
Second unit work was on point.
Well, you get a guy who knows how to, put together stuff for Star Wars, and your stuff is going to look a little better in those parts.
Yeah, exactly.
Kristen Duguay was off, I don't know.
Building kids pissing on the ground.
Right. Or in some abandoned building where people have been squatting, but now there's sex going on. So
That's
anyway. So here's a question. I don't understand why the big boss of the KGB would be going in with his team.
Right.
I mean, that never turns out well, first of all. Second of all,
no.
Is that the only way that the real Carlos is going to take this seriously? Or
here's the thing. From the whole operational perspective,
yes,
you send 10 guys in with one mission: kill him and the chick that's in bed with him. There's no dialogue. There's no, we have caught you, Carlos, the bad guy.
Right.
It's okay. Look, I've never been to Russia. I'll probably never go to Russia. I've never been in the KGB, the CAA, the MOUSC, none of that shit. But I'm pretty sure that the KGB is not going to be like, but let's go have a discussion with him first, comrades. They're going to be like, nope, kill his ass. But that's it.
Oh, yeah.
So the fact that the supervisor's there, bullshit. The fact that there's 10 other guys with guns there and they're letting one of the most dangerous men in the world just walk around thing, bullshit.
Yeah.
And then
they would have lit that place up.
Like he did when he got the gun and lit them up.
And lit them up.
All of them in a row. Thanks for standing in a row. Oh my God, that was so dumb.
Not even side by side to hide their numbers.
No, I mean, did they watch Star Wars? Do they know what sand people do? Jeez Louise. And now that's a Star Wars reference you can appreciate.
That's right. See what I did there?
Yes.
So anyway, we see Henry roll back up and he starts looking in with binoculars. KGB is up in Carlos's bedroom, and Carlos still starts telling the head guy that he's being set up to think that he's working with the CIA. Because apparently, Carlos is very smart and he knows exactly what the hell is going on. So
yeah, he's figured it out.
So he starts casually putting on clothes and talking shit at the same time. And then, of course, he grabs a gun and shoots all of them.
Not one guy out in the hallway keeping an eye on things. Everybody's in the room. There was a naked girl in there. So.
Yeah, there was.
Okay,
discretion.
Maybe.
Yeah. So anyway, Carlos jumps out the window, basically, and he's on the balcony after obliterating all those guys. He shoots a few more guys, then jumps into the nearby river, and that's when Annabelle jumps after him. Now, here is what I offer as a better ending to this.
Oh, well, you're not going to be offering much to get to there, but okay.
My offer is let Annabelle kill him right here. Don't do the, do we kill Carlos or do we kill Annabelle? It's just so silly. But
what we basically got in that scene was here we go, another Star Trek reference. we got Captain Kirk from Star Trek 6 kissing the shapeshifter that shapeshifts into him and goes, I can't believe I kissed you. Must have been your lifelong ambition. That's what the whole thing was. Face Off. I mean, it was just so bad.
It literally turns into Face Off.
Right. And it ends in the twin conundrum. Because he comes in blazing, shoots a version of Carlos,
right,
and doesn't know because the other one pops out of the water,
right,
and they're surprisingly enough both wearing the exact same thing. So twin conundrum, we give the password. The one makes the right answer.
Right, exactly. So, we know theoretically that he shot the wrong guy initially because the guy who was shot knows the password.
Right.
And then the allegedly real Carlos swims away.
Because Sutherland has one of his empathic moments.
That's right. He flips the switch again and decides he needs to take care of Annabelle in this moment instead of being a complete prick. So that's what happens.
That's right. Can I tell you that I vividly remember the end of this movie, even if I can't remember the majority of all of the other part of the movie, because it was over.
So yeah, as Henry is carrying him to the car
over his shoulder,
Annabelle is like, you need to go after Carlos, and Henry's like, well, they've basically already won because now the KGB will be hunting him.
Okay, they'll do the job for us.
Right, so we don't have to do it anymore, which is hilarious to me because they made it sound like getting Carlos in the first place was so friggin' hard. What makes you think that the KGB is going to have any better luck than you?
Because they're the KGB.
Well,
because they send 12 guys in when only one guy will do, with a supervisor.
So finally, cut to 3 months later, and we're at Annabelle's home, and Annabelle is outside telling his wife to hurry up, and he's outside with the kids getting into the car or whatever, and she gets off the phone and goes out the door. Now, we get a hard cut. So the first shot we see is Annabelle's wife getting off the phone and heading for the exit out the front door. The very next cut is just the car. We don't see people in the car. We just sort of see the car really quickly for a snap second, and then the car explodes. And of course, they must have all died. That must be the case.
So don't put any thought into the fact that there would have had to be 4 dead bodies in there, including 2 dead children.
Right.
And how did they make that happen?
Of course, that then dissolves into a funeral where the naval captain is talking about how does one even begin to comprehend a tragedy like this in the most generic line ever written for a funeral. So we get the 10 guns,
21 guns,
21 gun. That's right. I'm sorry. I'm not a military fellow. I just belong to a silly spy unit. So we get the 21 gun salute, and then we see Henry turn and walk away from the funeral, uttering under his breath, "Now you're free." But of course, this is not the end. Then we cut to St. Martin in August of 1988, where Annabelle and his family are doing well, and he receives a letter from Henry saying, "Rest in peace, Jack," along with a newspaper clipping of the funeral that was held for him and his family. The end. Except then, of course, we get the follow-up, which, again, I have not read the nonfiction version of what happened to Carlos.
Right. So one thing before that, though, in that scene where he gets the newspaper at the very end of it, he's smoking a cigarette.
That's right.
And there's a spider, the spider web, which is clearly a CGI spider web in there because it wasn't there. And he leans over as if he's going to burn the spider with the cigarette.
Just like the first scene.
Right. And then pulls back and then takes a drag off there. So I couldn't understand if that was he's still carrying it around inside him, or is it really Carlos?
I think it's a little bit of column A and a little bit of column B. I mean,
and I'm like, boy, that would have been much more of a payoff for me if I'd been invested in the rest of your stupid fucking movie. I'm sorry. We've reviewed a couple of stinkers on this here podcast, but This one is going to be the watermark for how bad it can go.
Oh, goodness.
We started off with woo as fuck, and now we're going to have assignment as fuck.
Here's the difference, though. There is enough production value and care taken in the movie making of Mission Impossible 2 that there can be fun had in watching Mission Impossible 2.
No. I am not even comparing them as that was the bar before. Right. I love Mission Impossible 2, but we coined a phrase because there were some things that were specifically woo as fuck in that movie. So any bad movie that has a really bad scene, that bad scene has to be assignment as fuck. That's all I'm saying.
So there you have it.
Please, sorry, I interrupted you at the end.
No, it's fine. So allegedly everything is done, but then we get this follow-up crawl graphic that says apparently he was on the run in several different countries until he was arrested in the Sudan in 1994. And then I think there was more to it. I just didn't feel like writing it all down. I did read one thing about the real Carlos. Apparently he's currently still being held in some sort of life in prison in like France, I think.
Yep.
So yeah. And then of course the final sentence says that there are rumors that a retired CIA agent and a former naval officer planned and executed his capture.
There are no such rumors.
There are no such rumors whatsoever.
Except in the director's mind.
And that is the end of this
steaming pile of porridge. Almighty.
Whew, boy. And if you made it this far with us, then boy,
thank God.
Good on with you.
Man, you guys have the patience of Job and the steel of the Man of Steel.
And I will say, one of our very own agents, Mark Miller, you asked for this one, pal. You got it. There you go.
We hope it was everything that you were hoping for.
So that is the end of our listener requested review of The Assignment. But hey, as always, we are still, despite having to watch The Assignment, looking for more listener interaction. To tell us how you like the podcast or what you might want to hear us review or anything in between that. So please.
Anything comes to mind.
Yeah. So, hit us up on email. It's cicdeaddrop@gmail.com. On Instagram, it is Central Intelligence Cinema separated by underscores. And until Elon really shits the bed, we'll be on Twitter at CIC Spy Pod. And so please come interact with us. Say hi. Do what you will. Yeah.
Let us know you're out there. Tell us if we're doing a good job, doing a bad job, whatever you feel like you need to do. But if you think we are doing a good job, feel free to leave us one of them glowing 5-star reviews we're always asking for.
Oh, we do love those. Those tickle us in all the right places.
They do. It's wonderful.
It is the Christmas. It is the season of giving.
That's right. So if you feel like you're getting something out of here and you want to give the agents of the CIC a little something for the holidays, hit that 5-star review. Tell everybody what you like about it. We get more people like you in. We do more stuff. It's fantastic. I love it.
Exactly. But that's about it for us this time. I think I've said more than enough.
We have definitely said more than enough.
So with that, I'm Ben.
And I'm Jason.
And the CIC will return with more missions, more martinis,
and more mayhem.
And no more porridge.
And no more porridge.